And we are live. We're back. The matchup, I'm sure everyone's itching to hear how the matchup's going. The two punt boys are going at it in the fantasy league. I'll give an update before we get into it, Bish. I'm currently on 86 points. Bish is on 88. But I've got one last player left to go. Monday Night Football tonight. I'll be watching closely. I've got Devonta Smith still to play. Bish, got no one left. I need Devonta to get over 2 points. Let's go, Bish. How are you? How are you feeling? And how was your weekend?
Yeah, it was a tough one, I must admit. But Jared Goff, what can I say? He put on a master stroke, and at the minute, that's the main difference in the side. So I think over 30 points he racked up for you, and Justin Fields on what could have been a few interceptions, a few drop passes. Just want to be, but no, that's how it goes. Unfortunately, sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Probably the biggest thing I'm kicking myself is the 49ers D. I took them out and put in the Chiefs, just thinking Kyler Murray might cause a few problems, whereas that Patriots offense wouldn't. And I got that one very wrong. So it might have given me a bit of a cushion coming into tonight, but still, I think it'd be a tough task. But yeah, I'm not staying up for the game tonight. I'm expecting to wake up tomorrow knowing that I've been booted out. So yeah, fair play. Yeah, but I mean, apart from that, it's been I think again, now the season's drawing. There's a lot up for grabs. There's a lot of teams knocking about on the same sort of trying to get into those last wild card spots. It's there's been some good games really. A bit of they were spread out quite a lot as well. 3 games. Started off with a Raiders D, absolutely thumping that game, thumping the Chargers. 3 games on the Saturday, which was lovely to see. Rolling into Sunday, so yeah, it's been all action packed. Great weekend. The Jets got bageled. It got done a number on by the Dolphins, and the Bills. Well, we talked about it on the review show. We're all fancying them as a late push, and they certainly rolled over the Cowboys quite convincingly. So yeah, a lot going on, but yeah, another good week, and yeah, let's all unpack it with our debrief.
I like it. Yeah, I'll give a shout out as well to Tampa Bay. I know they were actually underdogs in the game. To be honest, I couldn't work out why. I wish I put them in my best bets because I give myself a little bit of credit, even though I don't deserve it. I did actually put them on when I saw it. I put Tampa Bay as one of my teams on a bet at last minute because I thought there's no way they should be underdogs. They're going for the playoffs, and they had a great game versus the Packers. 34 points against the Packers, which has been done before and will be done again because their Packers defense collapsed, and it looks like they're all systems failure at the moment. But Bish, yeah, let's run through it as you mentioned, Bish. In our matchup, we'll concentrate on that. QBs, you've gone in Jared Goff, 31 points, fantastic performance. Like I said, you're Justin Fields. That interception was something I've never seen. Catched it, he caught it, he did it. They did the Hail Mary. It's hit his foot. It somehow fell out, hit his foot, gained momentum, gone really high in the air, and been caught for an interception. It was I think that only took him to hold that ball on a bit more, that foot for that ball not to gain somehow some unknown momentum in the air for you to be a lot more confident, and actually make us both be at the edge of our seats tonight. So yeah, tough one on Justin Fields, Bish.
Yeah, and as I was saying earlier to you, in the first half as well, the end of the first half, they were in field goal range, and instead of taking the free or attempting the 3 points, they went for another Hail Mary, again intercepted. So that's -4 straight away there. Robert Tonyan drops a deep ball, which it touches his hands and he drops it. That's a touchdown there. So it's just the way it goes. A game of inches, as we say, and it just want my night.
Well,
Oh, sorry, Joe, I was just saying. Apart from that, like you said, it's pretty neck and neck, really. I
Yeah.
had a big game from Tyson Chandler on Saturday for the Vikings. Kyron Williams answered that last night.
Yeah.
Again, the Rams look outstanding running. Massive game for him. Up over 1,000 yards on the year as well. Eckler didn't really produce much. Same with Ayuk. Puka and DJ Moore sort of cancelled each other out. And then obviously you had Kincaid who... Well, he had 2 targets. At least he had targets. But yeah, didn't quite get involved. 0 points. And I had the Hawkinson with 9. But again, the flexes, Aaron Jones, I had David Montgomery. Very similar. Kickers, very similar. Just the Chargers -3 for you. And then the one that I probably kicked myself over is the Chiefs. They got me 8 points. But if I would have kept the 49ers in, that it would have been an extra 7 there with 15 points. So again, yeah, it would have made tonight very interesting. But that's the way it goes. There's still a 1% chance, according to. Oh no, I'm actually on 8%. I think that's very generous. But they're still giving me a chance.
The game that I think I really want your views on. You touched on it. The one that got me nervous as out going into I thought fantasy season was over for me. I got -3 for the Chargers, obviously 63 to 21 versus the Las Vegas Raiders. What did you think of that game? I think we need to touch on it because it was so out of the blue. Going from a duck egg or a goose egg, I believe. Sorry, I picked the wrong animal. Going from the goose egg to 63 points the week after. Give me some analysis and explanation of what you saw.
Well, I think they ran up a 21-0 lead pretty quick, didn't they? Off the back of that, you could see whatever's gone on. They weren't happy with that performance last week. They've come out hot, run up a 21-0 lead, and it's just like I've probably been saying it for a couple of weeks. The Chargers all at sea, really. Just like they imploded a little bit there.
We've not touched actually, but sorry for interrupting. Brandon Staley, you've been calling for it. I forgot the big news. Obviously, Brandon Staley is gone. You've been calling it for about a season and a half. Well, not a season and a half, probably a season on average now, I'd say. So a long time you've been against Brandon Staley, saying, "Come on, give him a chance." How are you feeling? Sorry, Bish. I thought I have to get it in. I just
no. I think this was the perfect game. It was a Thursday night game. Obviously, things went very bad from the start. Didn't get much better, and no matter who you are, it's very hard to come back from a performance like that. Sean Payton has bounced back from the Broncos getting spanked by the Dolphins earlier in the year, but this one, I think it was all she wrote after that. Well, yeah, it was because he's no longer. But yeah, it's again interesting time. You see it at the end of the year. A lot of coaches change and things. Environments change and people come and go. So I think it can only be good for the organisation. A bit of breath of fresh air. See who they get in there. I suppose wanting to bring the best out of Justin Herbert, you'd probably want them to go get an attacking coach to really work with him and bring out him as one of the top QBs in the league. So yeah, interesting news. I guess we probably won't see the full effects of that or the full aftermath of that probably until the off season with all the recruitment and things. But like you said, it's things are starting to happen now with teams who don't really have much to play for. So I will shout out Grimesy. We did do the fantasy awards last week, which drops Wednesday this week, premiering on the YouTube channel. So look out for that. But if the awards were a week later, I think Grimesy might have been up for waiver pickup of the year here because he's. I think it was literally maybe 5 hours before the game. It was that evening. He picked up the Raiders defense off the waiver wire, and they've racked him up 29 points, and he's absolutely blitzed Sam in the other first round playoff game. I think he's put up the second highest score of the season, so he's through to the next round. And yeah, it wasn't a bad start for him. 29 points up after the first game of the weekend.
Yeah, I think that one that was nearly clinched very early on. I was nervous about mine -3, but that's 29 points on the good. You're feeling confident. Ended up with 176 points. Like I said, one of the top of the season. Had Dak, who actually didn't do that much, but he had McCaffrey. He had St. Brown. He had Chris Godwin, who had his first game. We've been calling Godwin coming back and having a good game the last couple of weeks. He's finally had it. And then obviously the tight end who won our Rookie of the Year award. Yeah. Our awards last week, Sam Laporta proved it once again that we made a good pick in our award show because he got 3 touchdowns on the day and also a good day for Amari Cooper. So plenty to talk about there for Grimesy, and he's well done to him. He's comfortably into the next round and
against Isaac.
Against Isaac, it's going to be It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because he's looking at that team. McCaffrey's going strong every week. St. Brown's pretty consistent every week, looking good. If Godwin's finally got going and Baker's got going, and Sam Laporta, as we said, so it's the one thing you probably won't rely on again, though, is that Raiders defense getting 29 points.
Yeah.
That's the one where you'd probably be looking maybe even at a waiver wire. Who are they against next week? That'd be important. They're against the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe with the way their wide receivers have been playing, but I reckon he'll be looking elsewhere. Bish, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think he will be. I'm just looking at his bench. He's got Jordan Addison on his bench, Noah Brown on his bench. He's just picked up Darren Waller as well. So, but he has 3 current running backs that are all out. So Jonathan Taylor is still out, Elijah Mitchell, and then Keaton Mitchell just did his ACL as well. So he's definitely gone. So it will be a good matchup. Isaac's coming in with Josh Allen quarterback, and Justin Jefferson's back in there. So it'll be an interesting matchup. I think on a whole, I'd probably say Grimes' lineup is probably stronger, but the beauty of it is with these big players, they can splash at any time, can't they? So I'm excited. Hopefully, I'll be not a spectator, and somehow, if I pull this one back, it'll be unbelievable. But I'm looking forward to both these semis, whether I'm playing in them or watching them, because it's going to be good.
And I know me and Tag will be, if it is me and Tag, we'll be definitely getting stuck into we've been at each other's throats all year, getting stuck in. I didn't like his picks, he didn't like mine, and we could be going at it. Hopefully for me, Devonta Smith gets a catch, but either way, be another punt special and another punt contest to get into that final. So more content, the better for us, Bish, I think.
Yeah, that's it. And the big talking point from Tag's team is Justin Herbert. That was his quarterback. He's out for the year. He's been scrambling on waivers. I believe he's picked up Gardner Minshew and I want to say Desmond Ridder. I don't know if he has, but yeah. So he's got decisions to make at quarterback there, which is obviously very big ones.
Yeah, I can say he's picked up. He's currently starting Desmond Ridder, and he's got Gardner Minshew in his bench spot. So it's a tough two. With the way Jared Goff's just played, I'm feeling confident at that QB battle, I've got to say. But let's get into it, Bish. We'll go through our players. We'll talk about more. But yeah, good luck on tonight. Either way, it's been a good battle. It's been a fair year. We've had some good fun against each other. So hopefully, whatever happens, maybe there's an interception. Maybe he drops the ball or takes a run. makes it a bit edgy as I'm watching it, just to keep it on the edge of the seat. But otherwise, yeah, it's been a good week. But let's get into it, Bish. We'll start off now more than ever important, the injury report. Take us through your first player, Bish, please.
My first one is Jamar Chase. He picked up it's been diagnosed as an AC joint sprain, and he's day to day. So whether he makes it back this week, it's all up in the air at the minute. You'll have to watch out for sort of training reports and see where he's at in terms of that. It did turn into a big T. Higgins game, at the end there. He got the 2 touchdowns, but obviously Jamar Chase, a player of his quality, he will be missed massively in that offensive offensive unit with Browning, who's slinging it about a lot. So, if you are, I'm trying to think really, it's a bit late now to be doing deals. Tyler Boyd might get a little bump up there, along with the tight end Tanner Hudson. So, but ideally, you want Chase back in that lineup and ready for the weekend.
Yeah, like you said, it's tough to give out advice at this point because there's not, like you said, there's not too many angles you can go. If you have an injury, you're probably just panicking and hoping to pick up maybe someone from the waiver wire. But it's definitely you're definitely getting nervous at this stage as more and more injuries happen, aren't you? So we'll see. But I've got one that's pretty sad. My one's Keaton Mitchell. Out for the year, probably be out for a bit of next year. We're just getting going, looking pretty good, to be fair. Bish, wasn't he, in his minutes? He was definitely taking that running back role alongside Gus Edwards, and he was looking strong, looking explosive. And in one of the runs, there were no one in his knees just gone, completely gone. And that's him. That's him done, sadly, for the year. So hopefully he recovers. Hopefully he bounces back. I know in running backs it's tough and it's long because it's such a physically demanding position. But hopefully he's done it in an okay time. He gets the off season to recover and he can be back near the start of next year, or hopefully even sooner. But yeah, it was a tough one to watch.
Yeah, it looked bad, didn't it, as well? So yeah, not nice. Like you said, just starting so quick. It looks like he brought another dimension to that running game that they had there. So they'll obviously miss him, But those Gus Edwards owners are probably rejoicing a little bit. With that playoff push, he'll get more work. Lamar Jackson will probably do a bit more running as well. So. Sad blow for him. If you do play in a dynasty league, which is a bit different to what we are, it might be one to try and get on the cheap and see if you can stash him for maybe a season.
Yeah, especially J.K. Dobbins. Last 2 years, he'll be tough to get back in. And then, like you said, Gus Edwards definitely not as explosive as Keaton. If he keeps a bit of that explosion and that speed, he's got a very good chance in dynasty leagues. But yeah, you've got one more, haven't you, Bish, for the injury report?
Yeah, my one more is Zach Moss, another running back for the Colts. Again on that Saturday, he did leave the game with an arm injury. Tracy Sermon came in and did a good job. To be fair, 88 yards on the ground. He's a bit of a minefield, that backfield. Obviously, we've got Jonathan Taylor waiting in the wings. He had a thumb operation. I'd like to say about 4 weeks ago now, 3-4 weeks ago. So he is due back soon. When, I'm not too sure. So this is a bit. I believe Trey Sermon will be available to go and pick him up if you need to pick him up. Maybe as a as a worst case backup if you are a Zach Moss owner. So this is just one to keep an eye on. See who's training in the week. But once Zach Moss went out, Trey Sermon was the lead back. So if Zach Moss or Jonathan Taylor can't go, then Trey Sermon will be a man this week.
Yeah, but it's nice to see him back in the league. Obviously, after what happened at the 49ers, where he got outdone by the 5th round rookie Elijah Mitchell, didn't he, in that season? And then he just went into obscurity. He's come back, played well. Be good to see him, to be fair. If the other two stay out, the other two have had a brilliant year when they both played. Obviously, Zach Moss owners, like you said, probably devastated. But you've got someone there actually that is tailor-made to come in, and if he's shown that he can do it. That offensive line run game for Colts, and I think you could put me in there, Bish. I'd probably get a good amount of rushing yards of how good they've been all year. So I think it's a very good option to turn to. Next part, Bish, into the games at the weekend. We've got the fantasy flops. I'll start us off here. Someone who I've mentioned already, and I just want to talk a bit about, is Dalton Kincaid. Is my first fantasy flop. As you said, he fails to get a single catch. He had 2 targets. I just want to explain. I should be worried, but I'm not too worried. Dallas couldn't stop Buffalo's run for whatever reason. I'm not too sure. Dallas have been okay at stopping the run this year. It's not like they've been one of the worst run stopping teams in the league. But whatever Buffalo were chucking at them, they couldn't deal with. There was only passing attempts over the course of the whole game. Sorry, there's only 15 passing attempts over the course of the whole game anyway. I think this was a one-off. I think as soon as they saw James Cook just running wild, when James Cook was running wild, Josh Allen also showing his legs and running brilliantly. They couldn't do it. They couldn't match. They just couldn't get the matchup right, Dallas. So I'm actually not too nervous, but I get your opinion on that, Bish, because maybe I should be. Maybe you can put a bit of fear in me, but I'm going to keep him in my lineup for next week. Not that I've got loads of options anyway, but I'm taking this as a one-off random game where Buffalo did really good at running the ball, and just take it at that, really.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. Like you said, the whole passing offense was very quiet because they just weren't needed. It was James Cook, all the time, and just gashing through this Cowboys defense. And like you said there, it's probably the first team that have consistently stuck with the run against the Cowboys, and found them wanting a little bit. Really, I think there was a talk that possibly a number of them were ill, and there was stuff going through camp, so maybe that affected him a little bit. But yeah, I think it's one of those. He's got a nice matchup next week against the Chargers. The Chargers have just give up 60+ points, so I'm sure he'll get a few receptions there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Sometimes you get that bounce back game. They've just been utterly embarrassed. The Chargers might come up against Buffalo, but like you said, I'm making storylines because of the way Buffalo have been playing the last couple of weeks. They're on the charge, aren't they? They're on the charge to make that playoffs and start upsetting people. But Bish, take us through your fantasy flop.
My first flop is Bijan Robinson. the running back sensation, the playoff week, and we talked. You said it. I said last week they were a pleasure to watch, but you said he'll change. They'll change. It didn't work last week, and it certainly didn't this week. He racked up minus 0.1 points in the punt this week, half PPR. He lost a fumble. He had 7 carries for 11 yards and just 1 reception for 3 yards. So it was an awful game, awful weather. Finished 9-7 to the Panthers, and after that fumble, it was tough for him. He didn't really see much after that. We saw a lot of Tyler Algier and a lot of Cordarrelle Patterson who got the rushing touchdown. So yeah, not what fantasy players wanted to see, or Bijan Robinson owners anyway. So hopefully he can bounce back this week. But he's got all the talent in the world. It's just a very tough situation. But you don't really have a choice. If he's on your team, you're playing him. So you've just got to pray that one, he can keep hold of the ball, and 2, he can get those carries.
Yeah, Arthur Smith, the most hated man in fantasy football. I can't say history because I don't know my history of fantasy football for over 30, 40 years that it's been played. But yeah, certainly in modern history, I think he's the most hated coach. He just can't. He punishes fantasy owners. You get your hopes up and he lets you down. What an awful get! Like you said, the weather definitely played a part. But losing to Carolina like that, I don't think anyone's happy. They just suck, didn't they? Desmond Ridder's, I can't say he's not the guy because he's still a fairly young quarterback in terms of years in the league. But yeah, he's struggled this year as Desmond, and I think it affects the whole team because they know that they must go for the run. They know the run's happening at this point. There's enough, as I've said before, there's enough footage now, and there's enough game clips to learn what they do, learn what they run, and stop it. I think NFL teams are very good at that, very good at doing the research on the defensive matchups. And if Carolina can do it, I'm not going to be shocked if other teams don't start completely stopping the run. If Carolina have found something, that's for sure, Bish.
Yeah, and I think that interception from Ridder, he got out of the pocket, tried to throw it across his body, and it was nowhere near any offensive player. To be fair, it probably could have been intercepted by a number of Panthers defenders, but it just changed the game, turned the game on its head, and the Falcons have probably, for me, blown their opportunity to try and make the playoffs there.
Yeah, I'll take you through my second fantasy flop. It is Breece Hall, 18 total yards in an absolute shutout loss. And it's not just Breece Hall, it's the whole New York Jets. Got absolutely, said it a couple of times this show, and I don't think I've said it before. Got absolutely goose-egged. I've heard it. I love the term. They got, I'll say it how I said earlier, they got duck-egged and got zeroed. They looked absolutely shocking. That offensive line, Bish, I'm happy Aaron Rodgers isn't there every week, because I don't think we'd see Aaron Rodgers at this point of the season. He'd be that beat up, because it's just an open lane, for them defenders, and they really, I'll put it on the Jets offensive line, they really need to step up if they want any success in any future. Like I said, there was videos of Mekhi Becton, and I'm not putting it down to him, but him laughing afterwards, and it's just a bit embarrassing. One, it shows where some of their heads are. I think obviously, so the offensive line have been there to protect Aaron Rodgers, and I'm just playing into the mindset a bit. And I think once it's not been him that they're protecting, it looks like they've just shut off, haven't they? The energy is not there, the effectiveness certainly isn't there, and it's been a danger really for any quarterback that's stepped in. Other than Zach, who can actually move a bit and get out of the pocket, the others have just looked like just been sacked plenty of times, and obviously it happened again. Zach went out. I think, was it Trevor Siemian who came in?
Yeah, Zach left just before half time. I think he took a pretty bad hit on a strip sack fumble.
Yeah.
Took him out the game. But I think they only had like 21 yards offense in the entire first half, or somewhere around that mark. They just absolutely got absolutely battered in that first half. And just touching on what you said there, that were my sort of feeling at the beginning of the year. Whether Rodgers was in there or not, I just do not think that offensive line would be good enough to keep him on his feet. He'd probably get rid of the ball a lot quicker. You know, I wouldn't see as many sacks, I'd like to think, because of he's a better decision maker, but it'd be very hard for him to turn them into a sort of title winning team. I believed, and I think we're seeing that now, to be honest. So yeah, I think changes are. I think they need to come, to be honest, if they're going to propel themselves into a team that challenges to go deep into the playoffs.
And I talk about the offensive line because I think the more I watch fantasy football, and I don't fantasy football, the more I watch just football in general, the more, and I don't think it gets spoke about enough, that running backs gets judged on them, on their stats. I think NFL have an issue of judging players on the stats too much, rather than, I know in rugby it's actually quite the opposite. If there's a storyline, that you get judged on the storyline more than your stats in rugby league, where in football it's all on your stats. And I honestly really feel bad for some running backs, because some running back, you watch them lines, and they've got milliseconds to escape or find or jump out of the and do anything, and it look like that for Breece Hall. It's the offensive line's not only affecting the quarterbacks, it's affecting Breece Hall's effectiveness. We've seen how good he can be. I don't think he looks remarkably slower or remarkably different to what he's looked like in the past. There's just no options for him, Bish. And I feel bad for him. Then you look like a Zach Moss, who last year I didn't think personally didn't look that good. It looks now one of the best running backs. Obviously, up until halfway through the season, I think he was number 2 or 3 in the league in stats. So I think really the league and people, when they talk about it, really have to do a better job of mentioning how the offensive line is for the running back, Bish, because it makes such a difference. And I've gone on and on there, but yeah, I think you can really tell in Breece Hall's performance this year.
The perfect example of that is Raheem Mostert. You know, Raheem Mostert has scored 19 touchdowns in his career before this season. He goes to Miami. That high-powered offense, that offensive line, he scored 20 touchdowns this year. So, you know, it just shows you it is the offensive line, the scheme in the game plan. It has a massive. It provides a massive context onto more than just the stats. Yeah.
But basically, take us through your second fantasy flop.
My second flop, it's another running back. It's Derrick Henry. And there's a bit of story behind this one. Sam the fan in our league, he made some moves. He wanted Derrick Henry to propel himself into the playoffs, and to be fair to him, he did. He put up some really good performances in the build up to the playoffs. But Sam signed him for this game to play the Texans because he owns the Texans. He's run for 200 plus yards on them a couple of times, and it didn't happen at the weekend. He only racked up 3 points, 16 carries for 9 yards. He caught 4 receptions for 1 yard. So it was a non-starter all game. Again, they found a way to keep him quiet. And we've spoke about Henry before. If you can get to him in the backfield before he gets that momentum going, he's a far easier running back to bring down than when he's got some head of steam. So that defensive line just absolutely crucified the offensive line of the Texans and of the Titans. Sorry, and yeah, it was just a no-go for Henry.
I think my point lies again. I'll make it again, but in a less drawn out fashion. Their offensive line looked terrible. Some of the highlights I know on Twitter. I think Dev Plovmine, probably butchering his name, but he does little clips of little things about football and makes little comments. And he showed some videos of the Tennessee's offensive line just letting people through. Henry won't even get into the line of scrimmage before getting immediately tackled by 1 or 2 different players. And I think, again, point proven, Henry struggled this year, can't get ahead of steam. Imagine Henry in that Miami with a bit of movement, distracting other people, or, again, that Colts offensive line that just is creating lanes larger than my house door. So, I feel bad for Henry. Definitely slowing down, Bish, would you say? But not that offensive line again's not helping him out because, as you said, he's a very specific type of runner, and if you can't provide them a couple of seconds to let him get that head of steam, it's going to be a long night for D. Henry.
Yeah, and he's a player I would like to see on a better team. There was so I've sort of seen some media stuff about him questioning what he does with his future, with him now out of the playoffs, but. Yeah, he's a player, and he'll cause some damage, on a team that just, like you said, gives him that 1-2 second to get through the offensive line. He could run riot again and be the reincarnation, maybe.
Well, I'd love to see it. He seems like a very good person as well. Watched a few of his podcasts. There's a few out there. I think he does that Bussing with the Boys one last year, and he's, by all intents and purposes, seems like a good person. So. I don't know him well. He might be the worst man ever, but I think all I've seen is good. He's a good person, and I'd love to see him there. He deserves it as well. What a player he's been for that 3-year stretch he had, getting the 2,000 yards and close to that the other 2 years. Bish, but we're on to the next one. Your segment. Take us into your first player, please. We've got Bish's breakouts, the top players of the week.
We spoke about him before, but the top player for me is James Cook this week. Absolutely run riot. 35.1 points in the punt, 179 rushing yards, 42 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. One rushing, 1 receiving as well. So he just couldn't do no wrong. He's he looked. It's been building for a couple of weeks. To be fair, they've got him going, and he's looked really good. That offensive line is doing well for them. The running threat of Josh Allen again is probably keeping that defense sort of honest, which is helping him a lot as well. So yeah, James Cook, a massive game, massive running game, and the Bills are looking dangerous.
Yeah, they were, weren't they? It was interesting. Why, like you said, they've obviously seen something in the Dallas run defense that they get tired, that they get worn out easy. I don't know. Fair play to the offensive coordinators who have spotted that in the defensive on the defensive side of Dallas, because like I said, all rankings wise, there's nothing stand out there telling you this is the case, and they found something and they just kept going, and yeah, fun day for the Russian team and that offensive coordinator who's done the run game for Buffalo, Bish. Yeah, happy. Yeah, good one to see. To be fair, the mighty Dallas been fraud checked, Bish, or not?
Possibly. You know what hurts me as well is that I sort of changed my opinion on them and was starting to. They weren't front runners, but they weren't pretenders anymore. They were sort of making their way up that, and maybe that's just checked me a little bit. But maybe it's something that teams now look into. Obviously, if you can run the ball, they are a high-powered offense, this Dallas Cowboys. So if you can run the ball, eat the clock, keep that offense off the field, that might be the way to go to breaking them down.
Yeah, well, like I said, it'd be interesting to see next week if I don't know who they're playing off the top of my head.
They've got Miami Dolphins, another great running team. Again, that could be another great matchup.
Yeah, if Miami, if they have the same ineffectiveness against the run, I think it could even be more crazy because Miami's run game, by all accounts, is better than the Buffalo's, and yeah, we'll see whether that is the case or that reported stomach bug for Dallas really did make a big difference, and they all were generally really ill from the stomach bug. I'll take you through my one, Bish. I've got two quarterbacks actually, so I'll not spoil one of them, but you can probably guess because we've already spoke about him. So I'll start off with my second quarterback. I've got Baker Mayfield, Mr. Perfect quarterback rating that I saw 200 times on Sunday evening. That was the storyline of the game. Baker, QB2 on the week, 29 fantasy points, 22 completions for 381 yards and 4 passing touchdowns. I think I do like Baker. He's had his ups and downs this year. He finally got Chris Godwin going, which he needed to do for going into the playoffs if they have any chance. Mike Evans, for some reason, just catches all the end zone, all the touchdowns, but Godwin still is getting touches. But yeah, like I said, Evans gets all the touchdowns. You must just look Evans' way. Evans always gets open. But he had to get Godwin going, and he just played unbelievable. He got himself going. He's had a good year, to be honest. I'm looking at his stats now. There's very rarely a time where he's not in the top 10 or top 15 QBs on the week, and that's what you want in a quarterback, that consistency. They've had issues on the defensive side, haven't they? So, no, good to see. I've got a soft spot for Tampa Bay for some reason. I think I like Baker. I think I always have. So, yeah, fair play to him. What a great week, and they might be another playoff team that we didn't really get too deep into on the show we did last week, Bish. But hey, these could make a long run. I wouldn't want to be the team to play them with their linebackers, these wide receivers, and if Baker's Baker, he plays well in them big games.
And they're getting a lot out of Rashad White as well, the running back as well. He's stepping up a massive amount as well. And yeah, again, I like Baker. I've spoke about it before from that Thursday night football for the Rams against the Raiders. So he won it late, and he's gutsy. He wears his heart on his sleeve. You can see him. He's not a quarterback to step out of bounds. He'll try and run over a defender. And I think as a teammate, you sort of rally. You can get behind that sort of leadership. So he's playing very well. I think he threw 12. I think it was 12 out of 14 passes in the second half, all for first downs. So it was moving the ball. They look good. And against a Packers team who started to pick up some momentum themselves, and we're looking like another playoff team. So yeah, it's a good win for them in Lambeau Field. And again, if Baker's going to sling it about like that, they've got that offense going. Yeah, watch out. It could be some exciting games.
Yeah, Bish, take us through your second top player of the week.
No, my second, and we spoke about it a little bit. I've got to go with the Raiders defense. We talked about them. 63 points. Well, they didn't put all that up, but the team won 63-21 in the end. But the defense scored 29 points, and they kept him to 7 up until the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, let the foot off the gas a little bit, and they got a couple of touchdowns. But 1 interception, 3 sacks. They hit the quarterback 6 times and got 2 defensive touchdowns as well. Thrown in there, they forced 4 fumbles and recovered 3 of them themselves. So a hell of a week, really. A bounce back from the organisation, from, like we said, what they sort of didn't put on the field in offensive play the week before. Although, again, the defense showed up very well that week. And that's 2 back-to-back games now where the defense has been very good. So, led by Max Crosby, some really good key players on that side of the ball for him.
Yeah, I think from that game, that was obviously the dubbed the worst game of the year. That 3-0. What we actually could have found is I think a lot of people judged it as being a poor quality game, but looking back, it might be one that you think, no, these 2 defenses are genuinely emerging as 2 very good. Obviously, Minnesota on the defensive side did okay, and obviously Raiders did unbelievable. So I think it probably shows both sides have got a better defense than I think what we thought, and that game really showed it, because they obviously both have offensive issues at quarterback, but defensively the 2 powerhouses that could cause an upset to anyone going into the playoffs.
Yeah, they will, and they were missing Josh Jacobs as well. So you bring him back on offense as well, and there's another weapon there for you. So yeah, it's they're an interesting team week to week. I guess it's just seeing which team turns up from week to week.
Yeah, and my second fantasy breakout, well, I can't say breakout, top player of the week, the man who has possibly took me into the second round of the playoffs. I've got to give him a shout out, and we already have, but Jared Goff, 5 touchdowns, number 1 fantasy QB, 24 out of 34 pass attempts, 278 yards, 5 like I said, 5 touchdowns, incredible, in an emphatic win over the Denver Broncos, which I think we all said had a good chance of winning this game, going with how the form is. We've said on the previous shows with Tag, maybe a bit biased with Tag having there, and maybe influences a bit too much. And we got the Denver clip. What is it called that they put on horses?
The goggles on. The visors, blind, yeah.
Yeah, the blinders, yeah. We might have had that on with Tag being around, but yeah, Detroit are real. We probably give him a bit of a disservice on the previous show, so I'll give him the other way and give him a massive compliment. When they're on, they are one of the best teams in the league, no doubt about it. Dan Campbell, when he's getting the lads going, he gets them motivated. They're brilliant, and against, again, a Denver Broncos team who everyone were thinking these could be playoff bound and cause some issues. They've changed the narrative and really did well through the back of Jared Goff having one of his best games in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and again on the review show, I sort of saw him as pretenders, the way the form has been the last few weeks. So it's a massive bounce back for him. Massive statement performance as well, I believe. So, Jared Goff, again, a couple of weeks where a lot of turnovers, people were questioning him, and he's delivered this week, and he's put a dagger through my heart.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be supporting the Detroit going forward.
Well, it was that bad. I watched the highlights, but I couldn't watch the 40-minute version of it, because it just seems Rams players this week have killed me. Kyron put up a massive score as well, and in another league, Cooper Kupp put up a massive score as well. So yeah, it's been a tough week for my Rams players against me.
I'll give a quick shout out also to the running back one. Fantasy number 1, should have been drafted number 1 by everyone. We've come aside of Justin Jefferson. This man had all the thing, except injuries, has everything you want in a running back and a receiver and everything. Christian McCaffrey, 39 fantasy points, won me my bet, so I'll chuck that in there as well. Very good for me. Got me a win on a good odds, so probably covered my overall. And yeah, what a game he had, Bish, again. Christian McCaffrey, one touchdown running the ball, and I think another receiving.
Yeah, he's everywhere, isn't he? Like you said, over 150 scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns. So landed the Bet365 double. lovely, nice special double there. But they find ways to use him, and he's just so good. So and he's the biggest thing is he's available every game, and he's heavily involved in every game. So if they keep it that way from here till the Super Bowl, I'm quite confident they'll be in it.
Yeah, I think again in fantasy terms, Bish, I just want to how he should have been drafted number 1 overall in every league, shouldn't he? I know Justin Jefferson was phenomenal, but with how they use him, how there were signs not signs last year. He played very well when he got traded last year, and when he got his consistent run, he was on it. And this year he's gone injury free, behind a very good offensive line. And yeah, I think forevermore he'll never be judged as a not number 1 pick again, Bish. I think he'll be back number 1 on the boards, and that's when he might get injured again once that expectation gets there. But yeah, what a year he's had.
Yeah, that's it. And putting sort of Kyle Shanahan's sort of the way he works and the things he comes up with, it's just a perfect toy for him to play with. He can run the ball, he can catch the ball, from anywhere on the field. He scored a number of different style of touchdowns over the last few weeks. A couple have been just wheel routes out to the side. Other ones at the weekend, he caught actually a deep ball. So the variation is incredible, really. So yeah, without doubt, next year he goes 101 in, I'd say 99.9% of leagues.
Yeah. Have you got anyone else you'd like to shout out, Bish, before we move on?
Off the top of my head, I don't think so, but I'll just have a quick look and see if there is anyone out there from this week. We spoke a little bit about Josh Allen, haven't we? Although he didn't really do anything, but no. Sorry, I'm delaying it.
No, it's all right.
That's it. I could throw out Sam Laporta again on the back of Jared Goff. Another big game from him. 3 touchdowns. So he's having some season. I think he's ranked 4th. I think just behind George Kittle with TJ Hawkinson and Kelsey above him. So he's had a great year, as we mentioned on our show, and another rookie, Jordan Addison, who had a big game as well. So yeah, it's good to see these rookies coming out and making strides in the NFL, especially as we spoke about. It's so hard at the tight end position. So to see him in his first year excelling is, it's good to see.
Yeah, we'll move on. The toughest section now, I believe, of our show, because each one probably has a lot of influence and also the biggest determinant on whether a person wins in these playoffs. And we've got the projects, the waiver wire pickups, Bish. Your one last week went well. I'll give you a shout out, Demarcus Robinson. You didn't play him though.
I picked him up, but I didn't play him.
But Bish, give us. You're very good at these waiver wire pickups. I think every week you deserve a compliment. So who are you bringing us this week for all the fans to have a look at?
Well, I'm gonna cheat a little bit this week, and I'm gonna go with the same guy again, Demarcus Robinson. Last week he was 0% owned. This week he's only 10% owned, so he's still heavily available in every league. And again, he got another touchdown this week, so he's not getting a lot of targets, but it's the quality of the target. They're all very much is a end zone target. He's a touchdown magnet at the minute, and he's also getting involved on end arounds. He's very quick. He had 1 carry for 23 yards, so he racked up 13.7 points this week. And again, next week against the Saints, it's a Thursday night game, but I think there'll be opportunities there for him to get in the end zone again. So if you need that guy in your flex, if you're potentially waiting on a Jamar Chase or a sort of flex player who you might be unsure of, I'd say pick this guy up, and he's a viable option.
Just seen in our league, Bish, we've actually got Devin Singletary available. But I'm not going to say him because I think in most leagues, in 74% of leagues, is owned. So I'm going to go the man who you give me, because I was really struggling on this one, Bish, and I'm going to give you credit for this one. So I'm going to say Joshua Palmer. 39% owned in leagues and only started in 8% of teams. But since he had his first game back in wide receiver 11, 19.3 points. So against Buffalo, if they've got any chance of going toe for toe with Buffalo, then Joshua Palmer is going to need to stand up and play. Obviously, Quentin Johnson's not been that player so far. Hopefully he does next season, but I think this year they're going to have to go with what they trust, and Joshua Palmer is definitely one that's gaining the trust of the Chargers organisation. And I think there's much worse places you can look than Joshua Palmer going into the waiver wire if one of your wide receivers is injured or got a really bad matchup.
Yeah, I like that pickup. That's why I sort of mentioned him to you. Keenan Allen was out last week. He might be back this week, but I still think he's a good option. He gives you that very different to Keenan Allen. He's got that deep threat about him, and in a game against the Bills where potentially they will be trailing or having to score points, so yeah, it's a good option.
Bish, we'll finish it off. The punters, we've got the best kicker of the week, and if you don't mind, it actually suits our name because he is a punter by trade. We've got the Scottish Hammer is my one. He only kicked one, but as he said, he is a punter. This isn't his job, and it's for the New York Giants, Jamie Gillen. A 40-yard field goal on when you're not normally kicking them. Bish is very, very, very impressive. His name's the Scottish Hammer, so I don't think his power was ever in doubt, but technique and the other facets of the kicking is certainly something he's probably rarely practiced, other than a few jokes around training practice. So yeah, always good to shout out someone from the UK, and he deserved it because he made his kick. And the Scottish Hammer rules on. Jamie Gillen, he does a few podcasts I've seen, so have a look. He looks like good crack and someone who you can follow going forward.
Yeah, and it's like you said there, maybe technique and run up need a bit of work, but it was ugly, but it went over left-footed swing and got the job done.
Who's your kick of the week, Bish?
My kicker of the week is the Texans' Kaimi Fairbairn. He's been out 5 weeks with a quad injury. He comes back, kicks 4 out of 4 field goals, 2 over 50 yards, longest one being 54 yards, and one of them being the overtime winner in the game where they came back against the Titans to nick that one and actually level up with the Jaguars and the Colts at 8-6. So that division is wide open, and I think it's a massive win, especially with Stroud out, with Collins out. They relied heavily on Fairbairn, and he certainly delivered.
He did, yeah. It's always, I'm sure it's always tough for fantasy because a lot of people think you shouldn't include the kickers, but at the punt, we're a big fan of the kickers, probably to do with our name. But so Kaimi Fairbairn, what a game for you, and like you said, makes that division very, very interesting. Now that's the one to watch going into the playoffs because they're all. What I like about it's not what the other divisions like the Saints where they're a bit unconvincing. It's actually a division where, like you said, 8-6, they can all do damage. They've all had parts of the season where they've looked unbelievable. Obviously, the Jags and now Houston have had their ups and downs. But if they get Stroud back and they go on a good run here, what a story that will be for them.
Yes, and I'm sure they've still got to play each other as well. So I think it will definitely come down to that last game.
Bish, been a good show. I've ranted on a bit at times, but I'm firing with passion at the moment. So but take us through your final thoughts and waivers off.
Please subscribe to the channel and pass it on. We're getting to the business end of the year now. There's plenty of content coming out this week. We've got this. After this drops this week, we've also got our first ever fantasy award show, which is a good laugh with Tag joining us as well. So, and we're obviously again back, feeling good, feeling confident for the best bets, week 16 best bets. So yeah, please if you're listening on Spotify, I know we have a few listeners out there, please leave a review. That would be greatly received, and just keep passing the word out about the punt, and let's keep at it.
Brilliant, Bish. Well, it's been a pleasure. And yeah, look, let's. I'll be messaging you in the morning to see the results. Everyone who's watching will know already, but it's let's hope. Let's hope the Philly do well, and let's hope for Devonta Smith. Oh wow, we're editing that one out, Bish. Let's hope Devonta Smith gets a couple of catches and gets me the win. But let's not pretend I just forgot his name. See you later, Bish.
Yeah.